Hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and I'm getting my voice back slowly but surely, but we're on episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Kuroko's basketball. Yes, I have been a little bit sickly this last week, and I had a little bit of laryngitis, but it's slowly receding, and I'm slowly getting my voice back, so that's great. But I've been so excited to watch these episodes and to talk about them, so hopefully my voice is not too annoying throughout this, but... We are on episodes 29, 30, and 31 of Kuroko's basketball. This season so far has been amazing, to say the least. So I'm really excited to see what we get for these episodes. We're starting a new game. We're facing Narumi and his team, and he's already ticked Rico off. It's great. And Kagami has busts through the door to become one of the generations of miracles, and there's a disturbance in the force. There's just lots of fun stuff happening, right? But we have a couple comments to get through before we start. I'm very glad that Bella in the Discord was like, hey, just want to let you know, it's not Kamuro, it's Himuro, Tatsuya. I was so excited for there to be another KT in the group that I completely messed up and called him Kamuro when it's Himuro. So Himuro Tatsuya is our boy that is new, that is Kagami's long lost bro. I've done that as a teacher before. I called a girl one name the wrong name the entire semester, and she was like, hey, not my name. And I was like, I messed up. So I'm glad, Bella, that you said something, but dang it, no more new KTs. How dare? How dare? So we do have that. Also, speaking of which, I've been told that Himuro's voice actor is Chuya from Bungo Stray Dogs, as well as Jean from Attack on Titan. Hell yeah. And also sings the ED. So we have one group, we have Takao singing one, either the ED or the OP, and then we have Himuro singing the other one. So fun times. Moth Green Applesauce said that the hi in Himuro and the ka in Kagami both mean ice and fire. Like the he in Himuro means ice, and the ka in Kagami translates to fire. So I'm just saying, if there's a duet between the two of them in our season 2 songs and duets, I'm not going to be surprised, because it's like a song of ice and fire. I would be really, really happy with that if we ended up getting something like that. Also, Moth noted that Kuroko can also mean beauty spot, which is interesting because Tatsuya has one in his face, and his name Tatsuya sounds a lot like Tetsuya, which is Kuroko's name. So, fun times. What a bunch of fun coinkydinks, eh? I like to think so. And then also, apparently, number 2 has a journey with the teams throughout the ED. So, I'm going to pay attention to that going into these EDs here and watch out for number 2, right? So I need to do that and actually go back and look through episodes 1 through 3 when I get done with here, and in the discussion we can go over all of them together. And then finally, Anime Annie talked about how the end cards, the first end card that had Kuroko and Kagami lying there, they're in the same exact pose in season 1, episode 1, except Kuroko is lying down with the basketball and Kagami is standing up, which I thought was interesting that we've reversed positions. And also, judging by the end cards, Anime Annie, who was like, I've analyzed these far too much. And I'm like, no, I feel like by the end of this season, the end of this series, we'll need to analyze all of the end cards and make some grand deductions from them. But I like the idea that from the end cards, it seems that maybe Kagami maybe processes his emotions by having distance. That's an interesting thing to note. Not sure if it's true or not, but I find that fascinating. So, in any case, we're gonna hope my voice holds out. We're watching. The good thing is I could take notes between all 3 episodes, so that'll be helpful. But we can't wait for Kuroko's basketball. Nah. So we're gonna start Kuroko's basketball episodes 4, 5, and 6 of season 2, or technically episodes 29, 30, and 31. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's all do this. Is it going to become like a new trend to bring Whiteboard Kun out? Oh my god! Oh my god! This season season's amazing. I love this season so far. We've not had a bad episode yet. It has been amazing. I've been so thrilled with this episode, with this season so far, and we're like only 6 episodes in. But man, I tell you what, I had to pour some more tea for myself. My voice is probably the strongest it's been in like 3 days, but I still need some tea. And man, I got a lot of notes. And things to talk about, but I wanted to bring Whiteboard Kun out because we're setting up all these different fun things in this episode and in this series that I think are all going to tie together and be kind of crazy, but I feel like I need to map them out because the roster of characters is getting bigger. And I just have a feeling, Anime Annie said in the Discord the other day, they were like, yeah, I've made you a giant shipping sheet. Because I'll be honest, I lost track like 3/4 of the way through season 1. I was keeping like a tab, and then I was like, I can't keep up with how many ships there are in the season. There was like 30 already for season 1, and I was like, too many. And Anime Annie's like, I've got them all compiled, but you obviously can't see them all yet because spoilers for new characters, but I'll let you know when you can. I'm like, thank you. I was like, I'm gonna need it. But oh my gosh. What an episode. What a set of episodes. Here's my fear. My fear, for drama's sake, because that's how this show works, is that we're going to go into overtime, and that's going to be a big no-no. So, because I don't know if you've watched other basketball anime like Slam Dunk, but overtime is usually not a good thing. You don't want to go into overtime. When you play a real game and you're watching it as an audience member, you're like, overtime. Awesome. We get to keep watching this game. It doesn't end. Overtime when you're playing a game sucks because overtime, basically, it's like extra innings in baseball. It just means that you have to go into another quarter. And the thing of it is, unlike baseball, where you go in the extra inning until somebody scores, no, this just plays out an extra amount of time, and whatever the end result is the end result. So it's not the next first person to score or anything like that. It's not like, last man standing sort of thing. It's like we give you a whole nother half a quarter to score as much as you can. And usually that's when other teams will pull away. And my fear is that SHUTOKU has more endurance than Siren. That's my fear. Because Kagami's at his limits. Teppei's at his limits. I feel like they're getting pushed to their limits. And SHUTOKU's going to manage to barely squeak away. Like by the skin of their teeth, they're going to squeak away, right? So that's my fear. So my fear is that we have, we have 4 different teams facing each other, right? We have the one team, the Shin team. They're pretty much out, I'm sure. I'm sure they're out of this mess, which is funny because they were one of the kings of last season that we were supposed to be afraid of. I guess it should have been a sign when we didn't actually see them play Siren in the last season that they probably weren't that big of a deal. But they're probably out because they've lost to SHUTOKU. Pretty sure they've lost to SHUTOKU, they've lost to Siren, and I'm pretty sure they're about to lose to Kurosaki, which I was having like Tsurune flashbacks because Tsurune, the rival school in that series, is Kurosaki. So it's funny. So you have Kurosaki, which we'll talk about them. They do have a pretty sweet color scheme. I love teal, so that's great. But they lost against Midorima's team, and I'm pretty sure they won against the Shin team. And so now the big question is, what are they going to do here? Then you have SHUTOKU, which won against Kurosaki. I think that they're going to win against... I think they're going to be the shoe-in for the Winter Cup. I think it's going to be them because we said the top 2 teams got in, right? I think it's going to be a shoe-in for them. Correct. And then we have Siren, who won against the Shin team. I think they're going to lose against SHUTOKU, and then it's going to come down to do they beat Kurosaki or not. And that's going to be the big question. Now, I think that they will beat Kurosaki. I think that they will because Teppei is getting all the enemies. Everybody's getting all rivalry around Teppei, right? So I want to put him on the board here. And Huck has been so gracious to be asleep while I've been watching. So now he's like, you need to play. Teppei Teppei's setting up all kinds of rivalries. So things we know about Teppei, right? He is the Iron Heart. I cannot tell you how dorky and cute it is that Midorima calls him Ironheart. It's the sweetest thing because he called him Teshin in the game. I was listening. He said Teshin. He's like, not so fast, Teshin. And I was like, that means Ironheart. And I was like, oh my God. So I love that Midorima calls him that. It's absolutely adorable. It's so cute. Do I maybe want to see more interactions between Midorima and Teppei so I can ship them? Maybe. Because I think Midorima would put up with Teppei. I really do. Teppei is weird, but I think Midorima would put up with him because he respects him. And plus, Teppei, as weird as he is really good at judging character and reading the room. So I feel like he'd be able to understand Midorima, and they would have these deep conversations about lucky items and where to get them. I make this a headcanon. I want this. Even if they're besties, I'm all about it. So Midorima clearly respects him. I was expecting maybe with Shutoku they'd have some kind of rivalry, but they really don't. Teppei doesn't have any rivalry with Shutoku. But what he does have a rivalry with is we know Murasaki Bara. We know him. And then we'll talk about Hanamiya. Oh my God, Hanamiya. His first name is Makoto, but he is unlike any Makotos I have seen so far in anime. I'm like, no, you do not get that name, sir. You get Hanamiya. No. Who is our snake man from Kurosaki. And then he's from Yosen. They're setting up for us to meet Yosen. They are, so we've got to beat Kurosaki, right? But I don't think we're going to beat Midorima's team. I really don't. I'm glad that we at least left it off at a tie, because I'm like, if they cut this episode before Teppei fired that last free throw, I was going to freak out. I was like, at least they tied it up, right? At least we got that. So I'm going to keep Teppei up there for now. We're going to tie back to him. But yeah. So Shutoku, they sweep past the other team. That team that was such a threat the last season, they sweep past them. No big deal. Apparently, Seirin, they've grown as a team, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see their growth. I like it. But we find out for the Winter Cup, narrow down 300 teams to 8, which basically means 2 teams from each section. You got the East, West, North, and South. So you have your top 2 teams from each section narrowed down from 300 teams. Pretty big deal. So there's 3 games. You have to win 2 out of 3. And right now, it's Shutoku and Kurosaki are the ones that they have to face. Now they beat the one team. I think they're going to lose to Shutoku. I think they're going to win against Kurosaki. I think that's going to be the big thing. Because here's the thing. Midorima has had some growth. And I think it's cool to highlight his growth that he's had as a character. We had this kind of pattern last season where Kisei, their team originally lost against Siren. Then they came back, did really well, and they played against Amine's team, showing Kisei's growth as a player. Now we have Midorima showing his growth as a character. So I think they're going to win. But I think that this asshole, Hanamiya, he needs to be put in his place. Midorima doesn't need to be put in his place. Midorima's grown as a character. He's discovered the power of Nakama. A secret stealthy Care Bear stare came in and showed him what teamwork was, and now he's all about it. So I feel like it's kind of like a reward to Midorima being like, it's like Scott Pilgrim style. You've gained the power of teamwork. So he's going to win. But this Hanamiya guy, he's a snake. I don't like him. And he's talking dirty words up to Teppei. He deserves to be shoved down to the ground for playing dirty. And we'll talk about that more here in a minute. But I think that's going to be his punishment. Is that now Siren's going to beat their ass. I hope so. I'm already hyped for this next game. We've not even got done with Shutoku's game yet. But I think it's worth noting when we have the moment of Kuroko and Kagame on the court, and Kuroko tries to do the drive, and he's like, oh, crud. The thing about the basketball is a real thing. If you've ever played basketball before, I could see how if some of you didn't know about basketball, you'd be like, well, what difference does it make if it's smooth or not? No, a basketball, naturally, the leather has ridges on it, and those ridges are really important because they let you grip the ball. And if you play the ball, you want those ridges. They help you get a grip. I have had several basketballs at our high school when I was playing that were smooth from they've been handled so many times that eventually that leather will rub smooth. You'll rub the different little balls and notches off and it'll become this smooth ball, which sounds like a good thing. It is not. It is so hard to handle that ball when it's smooth like that. You can't grip it, so you can't dribble it properly. And when you go to shoot, it just slips out of your hands. So the fact that Kuroko lost it when he went to drive is not surprising with it being smooth. What is surprising and kind of crazy is that he has worn down 6 basketballs. 6, my friends. That is not an easy feat. Kuroko has been practicing. He has been practicing this drive so much. And I love just that little gesture, that little moment with Kagami showcases that to us, the audience. Like, we don't have to see a montage of him playing. We don't have to see this big grandiose thing. No, all we have to know is that he's practiced so much. He smoothed away 6 different basketballs. It's kind of insane. It's kind of crazy. But Kagami, he's really happy to help. Momoi blocking out Mine from the rooftop. Oh my God. Here's my thing. I know a lot of people ship. I know we talked about in the Discord. I do ship Aomine with Momoi. I do. My thing is, of all the characters in Kuroko, and I do ship Aomine with Kisei, and I kind of ship him with Kagami and Kuroko. But if there were any straight man in Kuroko's basketball, it's kind of Aomine, right? It kind of is. He just has that vibe. But I love that he makes a comment about her lucky panties, which does make a sign that even Momoi is a bit superstitious. Can't let that go. But then he does that crazy backflip thing on the roof. I'm like, you could have fell and broke your neck, sir. You need to watch out for that. He does that backflip. I'm like, don't kill yourself, Aomine. And Momoi is actually really worried. I like that Momoi, she came across at the beginning of this series as this like cold, like, femme fatale character. And it's like, no, she actually cares about them. But Aomine is pretty perceptive. Aomine is like, oh, well, the game watch will be SHUTOKU versus Siren. Well, that or. And we don't find out what the or is, but the or is going to be Kurosaki versus Siren. That's going to be the game to watch, which how they're going to top this game, I say that every game tops itself. So I'm like, how are we going to top that? Because this game's been pretty awesome. But Aomine is thinking that's the game that's going to be the one to watch. So anyway, SHUTOKU, they beat out the other team. They beat out Kurosaki Daiichi. But we find out the first string didn't even play. And they let the loss happen. I'm with Midorima. I like the idea that he's like, it's disgusting. He thinks that they're disgusting. He's like, how dare you? Because it is. It's kind of like how Kuroko was mad at Aomine when he said he was going to skip games. Kuroko's like, we're your opponents. Treat us seriously. And I feel like Hanamiya's move to Midorima is just like, oh, we weren't worth your time. Gross. What are you doing? And I honestly think that's probably a really arrogant move on their part. It's super arrogant to be like, oh, we can take this loss because we're going to win the next 2 games. We got this in the bag. I'm like, are you kidding? So that kind of arrogance, I'm like, not about at all. Again, I feel like him being disgusted by Hanamiya and Kurosaki's move, I feel like Midorima and Teppei would get along really well. And I'm maybe kind of shipping them now, even though it's a crack ship because they have barely any interaction. I've crack shipped less. We can make this work, right? Right. So Teppei hangs back to talk to the man in the dark, scary alleyway being a total creeper. And Kagami noticed, which I feel like, just like with Takao noticing Kuroko, that's going to be something that comes back later. I feel like we're going to put a pin in that for now, that Kagami noticed Hanamiya, and we're going to come back to it later. I just get that vibe, right? And I was like, this Kagami, he can use his power of smell. He can sniff out a snake from a mile away. But yeah, Hanamiya dying to see Kyoshi. But Hanamiya Makoto, the bad boy. Of course, he would be the polar opposite of Teppei. Teppei is honest. They established that he is an honest center. And Hanamiya is the antithesis of him. See, I feel like in many regards, Hanamiya and Murasaki Bara are opposites of Teppei, but in different regions. Hanamiya is the opposite of Teppei in that he's dishonest. Murasaki Bara is the opposite of Teppei in that he doesn't care. And Teppei cares and is super honest. So I feel like the show is setting us up to have Teppei character development with those two characters in mind. Because Teppei, for as much as he did in these 3 episodes, he really did kind of take a back seat during all of it. He didn't really have much of a huge role to play, except for keeping Kagami in check and keeping Team Spirit up. But he himself didn't have a major character arc until the last 10 seconds of this episode, right? So, the idea of the uncrowned kings. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the uncrowned kings? I feel like we need to. I want to talk about the uncrowned kings. I love that that's what they're called. We get them an official name in this episode. I think last episode they had like a nickname, and this one they get an official title. But the uncrowned kings. And they are the 5 second years that are basically the generation of miracles for their second year. So I think it's important to note they're not third years, they're second years, because the episode said they were just a year older. So we know that Teppei is one of them. And now we've met Hanamiya, who is another one. Here's my part that kind of freaked me out, going back in the episode and taking notes. The one tall guy, there is one tall mystery man. He's like got a little bit of hair, but mostly bald, or like it's cut really super close. He's a big freaking dude, and we can't see what's on his jersey. It's completely blacked out, right? But the two that are in the back, there was like an EN on the end of their jerseys. Are they on Akashi's team? I'm not gonna lie, that freaks me out quite a bit. If 2 of these uncrowned kings are on the same team as Akashi, who's our last Generation of Miracles player, who's probably the hardest to face, I'm a little freaked out about that. That concerns me a wee bit. A little concerned there, right? So, I don't know. And if all 3 of them are on Akashi's team, then what are we even doing? So, I'm a little worried about that a bit. Maybe the big tall guy, but why would he be on Yosin's team? Because he wouldn't be on Yosin's team because Murasaki Bara is the center. Why would he need to be? So, a little worried about that. Just a wee bit. But yeah, so we have basically that Hanami is the antithesis of Teppei. I'm sorry, but Midorima in the locker room, Midorima's all fired up. He's ready to go. He's competitive. He wants to win. But that damn globe in the corner, I lost it. Because y'all know what that means. That means he not only went to the antique store, found the globe, brought it home, put it in the cart with Takao pulling it. Takao's like, are you freaking serious? He's like, do you want to win? And then Takao had to cart them up the hill with this giant globe. Midorima was like clinging onto it for dear life, hoping it doesn't break. Then they get to the locker room. He wheels it down into the locker room. They have to take the elevator to get to the locker room. All the guys are like, are we serious? Midorima was like, do you want to win? And then they have to wheel it out from the locker room to the court, wheel it onto the court. No one questions. They're just like, let it go. And then put it beside the bench. It's like its own little teammate has a water bottle sitting beside it, and it has to sit there the whole game. That is ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. I just like it's a contest at this point to see how absolutely ridiculous can we make his lucky items. That one takes the cake. Until we see like a live donkey on the court, that one's going to take the cake for a while. But yeah, Kisei shows up. Kisei's there in his suit, modeling, looking great. And they have the idea that the theme of episode 29 or episode 4 is the idea that losing makes you hungry for victory even more, right? Which is kind of true, very true, that they're hungry for victory, especially Midorima. Midorima wants to win. He's back for a rematch. He's ready to go. And Kagami and them say that they're hungry for a rematch as well. And so then, yeah, Midorima is very serious. He's not in it for Takao's jokes. Takao's like, okay, I can see that you were very, very into this. And he's on the edge. And Kagami is like, I'm going to take him. Now, interestingly enough, I wondered about this in the episode because Almine loves a challenge. Almine wants a challenge. I'm like, does Midorima want a challenge? Does he like a challenge, or does it stress him out? I feel like maybe it stresses Midorima out a little bit more, but he seems to be fine by the end of this set of episodes. And then Rico senses that something's up. Midorima his plan is just to wear Kagami out. It's not a bad plan. If you can't beat him, wear him down. And so that's his whole plan there. Like, right from the first, that animation is on point. Like, from the moment that game started, it was just like so intense and fast paced. And I was like, well, Kagami's gonna get wore out within the first 5 minutes. But it takes a little bit longer. It takes until the second quarter to wear him out, honestly. And then he keeps pushing past it. So the team seems like they're doing well going into the second quarter. It's 23-16. Kagame's already getting tired. Kuroko, I love that Kuroko never lets a play die. He never lets that ball touch the ground. I was thinking when it went through the hoop that he was going to like grab it and pass it to Kagami like they did last season. But no, it rebounds and he grabs that and goes. He's like, hell no. Kuroko does not waste a play. And then another thing too is Midorima's growth. Right? Midorima's growth. So let's talk about that. We have this idea that so far Kisei has become someone that likes to play for Kaijo, and Kuramatsu and everybody learn the value of teamwork. And then Midorima learning the value of teamwork too. And all of this was because of Kuroko and his encouragement. Right? His encouragement. So I feel like Murasaki Bara is going to be on that same bandwagon. I feel like through Himuro, he's going to learn the value of teamwork as well. And then Himuro is going to trace it back to Kagami. It's going to trace back to Kuroko. It's going to go the full 9 yards. The funny thing about this is that Kisei was kind of welcomed in with open arms from Kasamatsu and the others. They like welcomed him in and they wanted him to be a part of the team, right? Takao makes a note that they kind of just tolerated Midorima. They're like, they thought he was weird and annoying, but they respected him because he was a good player and he would practice longer than anyone else. It's kind of, there's this interesting Venn diagram going on between you have like teammates that are like friends, and then you have teammate respect, and then you have teammate fear, right? And so, and I'll put fear on there just because there's no other good word to explain it, but you have Kisei, who like his teammates wanted him to instantly become friends. Then you have Midorima, whose teammates respect him because he practices so much and he shows up and he's dedicated. Then you have Almine, who they really don't want to be friends with him and they really don't respect him because he skips practice, but they just kind of fear and want to win. So that seems to be the reason he's there. And then we have Murasaki Bara, who I feel like is in between Kisei and Almine, where his team wants to win, so they know he's really good, so they keep him on the team. But maybe Himuro wants to become friends with him, and he's just like, eh. So then that leaves Akashi over here, and I think Akashi's probably going to be more along this line here, but maybe they respect him too. Maybe they're friends, I don't know. But I feel like Murasaki Bara is going to be persuaded by Himuro to appreciate the value of teamwork, and then that's going to lead to him kind of converting over to the basketball religion of Kuroko, which leaves Almine and Akashi being the hard eggs to crack. I think Akashi is going to be, I know nothing about Akashi's character. I don't want to know, so please don't spoil me. Let me theorize here for a second and give you my wacky opinions in peace. But I feel like Akashi is going to be like the antithesis of Kuroko. He is the antithesis. He just wants to win. Doesn't care about the sport. Doesn't care about friends. He just wants to win for the sake of winning, and is going to be the antithesis of Kuroko. Whereas Almine is not, that. He just thinks that nobody else can give him a challenge. So I feel like Amine will crack before Akashi. I feel like Akashi's never going to crack until like the very end of the series, if that. So that's really interesting. But yeah, Kagami and Teppei have to basically double team Midorima to stop him. And then, God, I love the idea that Teppei's like, okay, well, first things first, Kuroko goes sit on the bench. And as he's like giving him all the different reasons why he should, Kuroko slowly fades away into the distance. It's great. It's wonderful. But then Midorima getting razzed on by the team, and Koga thought he saw Midorima smile. Like he was having a good time, right? And then Takao does acknowledge that things, you know, with Midorima maybe have changed. I don't know. Kisei, I love when he's like, I have no idea how this is going to end up. And Momoi's like, are you freaking kidding me? I love that Momoi shows up to stand beside him. I wondered about the dynamic between Momoi and Kisei. They really are very similar characters, but when they're next to one another, they're so awkward because Kisei and them, they're almost too alike, right? And Momoi is just kind of like a more focused, analytical version of Kisei, personality-wise, and Kisei is kind of more like a golden retriever. Just a wee bit. But yeah, so by the end of the third quarter, it's 45-48. And by the beginning of the third quarter, and by the end of the third quarter, it's 68-76. But they managed to tie it up, so I'm glad. But yeah, Koga comments that Midorima's changed. Takao doesn't think so at first. Okay, when Takao said they weren't friends, I was like, that's the biggest bunch of BS I've ever heard. You are so friends with Midorima. You went out to eat with him. You pull him around on a cart. In the audio drama, you went to a shopping mall together. Acquaintances don't do that. You're a liar, Takao. You're lying to yourself. You are friends, you monster. How dare you? But he talks about how that the team thought he was weird and annoying, but because of Kuroko, he's managed to like come through and now believes in his team. And it's like another one converted. So yeah, so Kagami, I love that Kagami gets double chopped by Teppei and Hugo when they like double chop them together. It's great. And then we establish what Sirene's, their style is. They are an offensive team like Toho, and they are run and gun. Quick, fast, gaining points team. We are not a defensive team. We are offensive. And I love that. I love that we established that with this team, that we're going to gun and run. We're going to go. We're going to do quick turnarounds, quick scoring. That's a lot of fun. I like that a lot. So then we get into this last episode. Oh my God. And I'm sorry, but this episode, I don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like Kuroko and Kagami are my favorite Kagami ship. And my favorite Kuroko ship right now. They're my faves. I'm hardcore into them. Kagami and Almine are fine, but they're so similar it almost doesn't work. It's like it's too much of the same thing, right? But Kagami and Midorima gained like 2 ships in this one set of episodes. I was shipping Midorima and Takao. I still am. But now I'm like, I want to see Midorima and Teppei. And now I'm kind of like, Midorima and Kagami, I can kind of see it. The red and green M&M, I can see it, right? Because they are. The fun thing about them as a ship is that they're both super dedicated, super competitive, super challenging to one another, but their personalities are so different. So I'm so intrigued by the prospect of that ship now. I'm like, what can we do with it? I'm just so excited by that, right? But yeah, Teppei keeps the team together. He's the glue, and then they manage to try to do their best, but like everybody's reaching their limits, right? And Kuroko finally gets to come up and do his super phantom drive. I freaking love it. I also love how Kagami is so supportive. He's like, get in there, buddy. You can do it. I love that Kagami is supportive of Kuroko and instantly is like, let's show him what's up. I just love that. It's why I ship them so much together. They're so supportive of one another and they motivate each other on. But man, that phantom drive, it was so satisfying seeing Kuroko use it against not only Takao, that part was amazing, but Midorima, and Midorima being like, you little shit, you had this up your sleeve the whole time. And I love that Midorima's just like, interesting. Like, I'll take this challenge. I'll run with it. I'm like hell yes you will. So much fun. I absolutely love it. That moment where Kuroko gets by him. And I love that Teppei is so huge compared to Kuroko, where he's just tapping him on the shoulder like, there, kid. You got it. I'm like, oh my God. It's wonderful. But they managed to tie it up. And the moment that Kuroko gets past Takao, oh, it's so good. Like, Takao did that little granny shot under his legs that passed back to Midorima earlier on in the episodes. But the fact that Takao cannot hold Kuroko back now is wonderful. But man, I love that we see on both sides. We see Midorima like getting on and like getting slapped on by his team, like when he does well. And then you see Kuroko and his team like being so excited for him. Like, it's really, really cute. But Kagami is like at his limits. And I love that Teppei looks over and sees him. And Teppei's like kind of at his limits too. It really sucks. And that's why I don't like Hanamiya, because he points out, he's like, hope your injury healed. I'm like, screw you. But yeah, I felt so bad for Teppei, because Teppei, he knows what it's like to be pushed to his limits. And he can see that in Kagami. And he's trying to help him the best he can. But it's like, what can you do, right? Oh, and that look he gives Kagami, I'm going to take a picture of it. I just paused like at the right moment. The look he gives him from the bench, it's so sad because you know where he's coming from, right? But he's like, we'll just have to do the best we can. And Midorima sweats like not very much. He's not a big sweater. Make it known, when Kagami pushes his hair back, he doesn't look bad. I feel like Midorima's like, okay, I see how you are. I was like, Kagami needs to push his hair back more. His eyebrows are atrocious, but he needs to push his hair back more. He looks better that way. And I love that it almost seems like Takao is acknowledging there could be a Kagami and Midorima ship, because he comes up to Kuroko and being like, we gotta win our men back, huh? And Kuroko's like, what? It's a great moment. I love that. But they just were down to the wire and trying their best, and Kagami can only do so much. And then it gets passed back. Midorima's like, we're going to keep going. And then, Teppei. I love that Kisei's freaking out up there. Kisei's in the stands freaking out, be like, I don't know who to root for. And then it comes down to 103 to 104. And Kuroko gets the ghost pass, which is amazing. And Teppei goes up for it. And he ends up getting fouled by Midorima. Oh my God. And so yeah, the fateful shots, right? Which Teppei's leg is given out on him at this point too. He's reached his limit as well, along with Kagami. So I don't know. He made that first free throw, but the moment his legs started hurting, and Hyuga noticed it. Hyuga was like observant. He was like, oh nope, you're gonna miss. I'm like, rebound it. And then they both go to rebound, and then the time's out and we're going to go to overtime. Unless we find out that it either goes in or doesn't go in. But I think we're going to go into overtime. And my biggest fear in overtime is going to be that Teppei and Kagami are so wore out that it's just not going to work. It's just going to be like, it's over, right? It's not going to pan out. That's my biggest fear, is that they're going to try and Midorima, and then we're going to like get just by the skin of their teeth ahead. And so then if that happens, then they're going to be down in spirits, right? Their spirits are going to be down. And then Riko's going to be like, come on guys, we got to play against Hanamiya's team. And it's like, they got to pull their way back up from that, right? So they just talked this last couple episodes about, losing and pulling yourself back up after a loss. If they lose against Midorima's team, they need to do that. So I'm just afraid they're going to lose. The downside of ending at this episode is that there's a cliffhanger we don't know yet. But my theory is silver lining. The last time we had a major defeat was like episode 18 of season 1. And episode 19 was like a pick-me-up episode. So you didn't have long to be sad, because you didn't have a long time to be sad because newer things were happening. My hope is that even if we lose this next game in this episode, that we'll have some pick-me-up in the episode following it. That's my silver lining that I'm hoping for, right? And then we can go kick Hanamiya's ass because I don't like his character already. He's a pretty character. Cool character design. I like a bad boy, but he spoke ill of Teppei. He must die. Mm-hmm. So, I do want to talk about the end cards for this because they're wonderful. I want to talk about the end cards here. With this episode, we have 3 end cards I'm going to pull up right here for us to look at. The first one is of Takao and Kuroko cooking, which is really cute. I noticed that Takao is cooking carrots because that's like Shutoku, they're orange. And Kuroko's making like a little special sauce or a soup or something. It's really, really super cute. The second one, that's the end card, is of our light Yagami guy on Shutoku's team, who's always the pineapple guy. And he's got like the box of pineapples too, along with Komuro and Obutsu. I think that's their names. Those two, I liked them. I like the Kimura. He like scored the points for Shutoku, and Pineapple Guy was like, "Oh, come on, why didn't you dunk it?" And he's like, "Not everybody can, you know." I love that he's just like the everyman. I like his character a lot. And then of course, the final end card is "We are surely not friends to Cow," alongside "I am surely not a teammate Midorima," with a rainbow dot background. "You're fooling no one, show. We know the truth." It's painted on the end cards. It's right there. The shipping is there for us to see, right? That's so funny. And then I did go back, and I'll show you all. Anime Annie told me that there is officially, like, in the EDs, like we had our little mini stories before. Now there's mini stories with number 6. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. So I went back and looked at the ones for episodes 1 through 3, along with the ones for this one. Y'all, I wasn't prepared for the cuteness that is Kagami trying to put a jersey on number 2. Look at that shit. Look how adorable that is. I'm a dog lover. Look at number 2 struggling to get that little jersey on and how cute it is. And Kagami's like, "I'm terrified, but I want to help you." And Kuroko's in the back being like, "Them's my boys." I'm like, ah! It's, as Huckleberry's like, "Pay attention to me, not number 2. I'm like, oh my God. It's the most precious thing I've ever seen. And I'm not going to get over that little animation of number 2 anytime soon. But then the other ones are, they're like at a store buying a bunch of stuff and they're taking it back upstairs. I'm like, can't you guys find an escalator or like an elevator or something? But no, I guess it's part of their training. Teppei has a really sweet jacket on though. And I like Koga's, or that's not Koga, that's the other one. I like his sweet lavender magenta vest, right? And then this one is the one I noticed in the last of episodes. Riko's fashion is so on point. I would wear that outfit in a heartbeat. I love her outfit. It's so, so cute. And I love Teppei. I love Teppei has the little light pink salmon colored cardigan as he's holding number 2 like a baby. I love it. Kagane has the really sweet pastel colors. Hyuga looks like a soccer dad. It's absolutely wonderful. I love that. But then we have the end scenes with number 2 for this set of episodes. The first one being seeing Teppei and all of them at a restaurant. And then as they're all talking, number 2 like walks away to go see what's happening with the other teams. I think that's really cute. And then he stumbles upon Kisei's team next at the magazine store. I like that Kasumatsu is trying to find a magazine. And Kisei is like finding himself in the modeling ads and be like, "Look, Kasumatsu, it's me." And Kasumatsu's like, "I don't care." It's definitely Oikawa Iwaizumi vibes, and I'm here for it. I love it. And then the final one is him looking, number 2, looking in the shoe store and seeing the other guys from Kisei's team. And the one guy spots a girl walking away and he has like all the blush. Super cute. I'm really excited now to look at the ED and find the shots number 2 and see how cute they get. I'm really excited, but I'm also really excited for next week. Hopefully my voice will be back to full strength by then. We're gonna hope, and my cough will be gone. So sorry about that. I'm sorry I coughed and was scratchy throughout this reaction, but I just couldn't wait. I was like, no, I gotta watch it. It's just gonna happen. But it was so worth it. And now I'm ready for episodes 7 through 9. Maybe I'm not ready, but please no spoilers, hints, or clues. But oh my God, you guys, I cannot wait to enjoy this next set of episodes with you all. I hope you all enjoyed this reaction discussion. So much fun. But maybe Whiteboard Kun will be a mainstay for season 2. Who knows? So we'll see. But in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with episodes 7 through 9 of Kuroko's Basketball Season 2. Bye.